It's a tragic situation. It's just one of those places where you can't win. Anything you do is wrong.
Well, think about it. Call me.
All right, so I thought about it. I have worried about it, and I have afraid about it.
I don't believe we can do anything.
Religiously, I have, because it's something that frightens me, because it's my country's involved over there. And if we get into there on any considerable scale, there's no doubt in my mind but the Chinese will be in there, and there we'll be fighting a dang conventional war against our secondary, not potential threat. And it'll be a Korea on a much bigger scale and a worse scale, because the peculiar physical configuration of Korea made extensive guerrilla fighting impossible. But that's not true over in there. If you go from Laos and Cambodia and Vietnam and bring North Vietnam into it too, it's the damnedest mess on earth. The French report they lost 250,000 men and spent a couple of billion of their money and 2 billion of ours down there. And just got the hell whipped out of them, and they had the best troops they had, including practically a division of crack German troopers who were starving and enlisted in the Foreign Legion and went down there.
Hello folks, thanks for tuning in on this sortie video. We're taking the F-100D out to do some AAA suppression once again. This time the mission is in support of Operation Yankee Team. We are helping an Air Force RF-101 complete a reconnaissance pass on the Plain of Jars. This is pretty important because at this point in history, we're talking 1964, satellite photography is pretty much science fiction territory right now. So the only way officials can get intelligence from the air on what is going on in a given part of the world is for someone to bring a camera, put it on an airplane, and fly over it. So to that end, reconnaissance aircraft have been dispatched to Laos in support of that, to keep an eye on communist movements of troops and military support into the region. And it's a little difficult for the reconnaissance airplane to do that job if it gets shot down on the way to or from it. Remember, wireless data link is not a thing yet in 1964 either. So we have to go out here, line up, and take out the AAA so that the RF-101 can do its job. Now, obviously, DCS at the moment, there is no RF-101 AI model or full fidelity aircraft. It'd be really cool to see someday, but for the moment, since we don't have those options, a Keflavik F-4E is going to stand in for the Voodoo, since the F-4 replaced the RF-101 in many roles in the U.S. Air Force, including tactical and strategic reconnaissance. That's a pretty fitting substitute in my estimation, but you all tell me in the comments what you think. Payload today is going to be 2 external fuel tanks, 2 M65 1,000-pound bombs, and 2 rocket pods, in reflection of the actual payloads used during this mission when it happened for real in June 1964. We're going to be trying out a new tactical approach here. This is going to be what I call the Robin Old method, although I'm sure the method predates him. I learned of it through an interview where Robin Old recounted how he taught his people to drop bombs. As I pull the gear up here, the F-100 is yawing a little bit, but just as a note for you all that may be new to the module, if that happens to you on takeoff, don't panic. Definitely don't touch the stick. Just use the rudder to gently coax it back on center line. If you use the stick, you're going to induce the adverse yaw and maybe put yourself in a worse position than if you just let the oscillations go. When the Hun gets a bit heavily loaded, that can happen. And also my trim settings were a little wonky here. I went back and changed some of the springs in my stick, and that helped fix that. But anyways, coming back to the topic of the dive bomb pass, The M65 bomb goes back to Korea, and I found no dive tables that apply to it, which is perfectly fine because this is a 70-year-old tactical airplane after all. So a lot of material about how to employ it is just not online or even available at all. So I am using the aforementioned Rob Reynolds approach, which is dive on the target from basically straight up. And he quoted 60 degrees, but basically it just involves dropping directly over the target with as minimal lateral displacement as you can, and then pickling off what you got from essentially right over their heads. And as you'll see in the footage, this is a very advantageous way to employ these old Cold War aircraft. Obviously, we don't have a targeting pod, we don't have an MFD, we don't have any of that stuff to help guide the weapons, so we have to deliver it manually. And it's not only necessary to deliver the weapons accurately, but we also have to deliver them with minimal risk to our own butts, because we have to drop this stuff well within the AAA engagement zone. Now, one of the issues that you may find when you roll in on targets like these AAA batteries that we're going to knock out is that if you use a dive angle, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, whatever, you're opening yourself up to getting shot on your way in, because you have to hold a fixed attack bearing, you have to hold a fixed airspeed, you have to hold a fixed angle of approach. You have to do all of these things in order for your bombs to hit the target on the schedule that you have determined based on your mil settings and angle off and RAP and all that. And if you have any deviations, you're going to have issues, you're going to miss. And unfortunately, what works on the Gila Bend range in Arizona may not necessarily work too well in the crucible of combat, right? It's a little difficult to hold a dive angle when you see 57 millimeter popping off in front of you. It's a little distracting. And 23 millimeter ammunition, that's just not a fun thing to see, and it might cause you to make a mistake with your profile. Obviously, you don't have to worry about 23 millimeter on the domestic ranges here in the United States, and I'm sure NATO doesn't add that to their training either. So when it comes to employing these old school airplanes, you got to do it smart. And Rob Reynolds' method of just diving straight down on the target has a couple of nice benefits. One is, obviously, you get rid of the whole dive angle inaccuracy vertical dive issue. It also helps because the AAA batteries can't shoot straight up. Now, you see the downside is you better come from a high altitude, and you're going to have to dive pretty far, and you're going to put a heck of a lot of G's on the jet and yourself. But as you can see, you'll get the hits, and you'll do it without getting shot in the process, which is A+ in my book. Turns out the good colonel might have known what he was talking about after all, huh? So I just dropped those 1,000-pound M65s, again, straight up. I didn't change the mil setting. What you see is the default gun setting on the reticle. As soon as you turn the plane on, set the armament mode to manual. That's it. No mil depression. I just rolled the jet in from like the freaking stratosphere, 35,000 feet, pointed it at 60 odd degrees, basically straight down at the target, corrected for lineup, dropped the M65s, and there you have it. So one sight down, 2 more to go. Wingman's working his sight. I've assigned him a AAA battery that is off to the northeast from our position, so he's going to knock that one out. I'm going to work on the other 2 that are in this valley. Changing the sight here for the rockets. Oof. High altitude AAA. I mean, no AAA is fun to deal with, but I would much rather deal with the FLAK than the low altitude, high speed 23 millimeter freaking streams of bullets. Y'all can keep that. You just miss me with that nonsense. Coming in on the next site here. A little high and right, but we get the job done. Nice thing about the F-100 is that you get 4 guns and 1,000 rounds of ammunition, which is basically double the ammunition capacity of later airplanes. I think the F4 comes with about 639-ish rounds, and what makes it more interesting is that you get the slower fire rate on these M39s, pardon me, the M39s, which means you get more ammunition and you get more staying power versus those 20 millimeter Vulcan Gatlings where you spew 1,000 rounds in like 30 seconds, right? Now, of course, on paper, the big Gatling gun with its huge fire rate sounds like a way better idea than these 4 M39s, but if you spew all those bullets in 2 trigger squeezes, you're out of action, at least in terms of the gun, for the rest of the sortie. Whereas when you have 4 250 round guns and you can switch a pair to use at each time, like I'm doing right now, I've only got the top 2 guns firing, and it's pretty nice. You're basically carrying 2 F5s worth of firepower at your command, and you can fire all of the guns or just 2 of them. And I've taken to just firing 2 on each pass until they're done, and then I switch to the bottom 2 and then keep going. And done that way, the F-100 just has a lot of staying power. And then you add in the fact that, like, you not only can you switch the guns, but you can also really loiter in the combat area for a while if you stay out of the afterburner. And you can see why these airplanes were so popular in the ground attack and especially counterinsurgency role, because for a jet fighter, it's got a lot of fuel economy and staying power, whereas something like an F4, MiG-21, those kind of jets, you might have enough gas for like 15 to 20 minutes of activity in a given area, and then you are out of town to go to the tanker or to go home to refuel. So that is not necessarily something you'll see as a headline item on the stat sheet or on the DCS website, but having the staying power to really prosecute these attacks and come back and hit it if you miss on the first pass, that's pretty cool to see. And it's it's not like I said, it's not a headline thing. You're not going to see anyone brag about it in the forums, but having the staying power to make multiple passes and still have gas to get home with, it is a nice feature. And it's not just the A-10, fortunately, that has that asset in its favor. The F-100 is also very maneuverable when you're in the dive, so you can do some pretty aggressive jinking to stay out of those AAA threat parameters. Oof, that sight got jacked up. So while I'm admiring the BDA here, just doing some jinking to stay out of the low angle AAA. And I get a little aggressive with it. This is a learning point for the sortie, which is that when you do your dive passes, stay fast. 250, 350 knots might be what it says on the stat card. Don't follow that. Just punch the afterburner, get fast, get some speed on the Hun. This Hun likes going fast too, and on top of it, if you stall the engine because you're dodging AAA like I just did, you've got enough speed that you can come off the target, convert it to altitude, sort out, restart the engine, and get back in the fight. You do get better with stalling the engine and being able to restart it at time. It's obviously something that you pick up with practice. So if it happens a few times when you learn the module, don't despair. You will get better at it, and you'll kind of get a sense of what the Hun likes and what it doesn't in terms of keeping the engine happy. I will make a note here also, and I don't want to sound gatekeepy with it, but the F-100 being a Cold War old school airplane with old school flight dynamics means if you're flying with an entry-level controller like a Thrustmaster T16000 or something, you're going to have a much tougher time controlling that airplane because your controls just won't be sensitive enough to really keep it from over-rotating or going negative G or keeping the engine from stalling because your throttle just doesn't have the sensor capability to modulate the thrust as effectively and as smoothly as you can with something like, say, a VKB sticks and a VKB stick or similar level of product. If you guys want to hear more about that, let me know and I'll make a video, because I think some folks with entry-level kit might watch a video like this and think, gee, why do I suck? Why am I having compressor stalls and going out of control? And it may not be anything you're doing. It may just be your entry-level controller just isn't capable of really controlling the airplane. So, see here, we got the RF, quote-unquote, 101, end quote, completed its reconnaissance run of the Chipone area and the Jinko-Hang Plateau. So, our job is done. We are headed home. It's a good feeling when we get the kills and we complete the mission. So we got our photos. McNamara and LBJ will get something nice to look at tomorrow, fresh off of the embassy packet, and we are going to line up here and land this Hun. Trees on the approach end of runways. One of my most annoying things. Not the smoothest landing in the world, but we got her on the ground in one piece. So, all right, good sortie, good mission. We got the job done. 2 did his job. Reconnaissance aircraft completed its mission, got the film and got back. So that's all awesome. And we are gonna go turn off the runway and park the jet. The neat thing about the Hun is that even though it doesn't have the technology of something like an F-16 or an MiG-29 or something, it does have the ability to do the job if you just know the techniques of how to use it. It's one of the reasons why I'm publishing these videos, because this aircraft naturally predates the internet era by quite a few decades. So unlike the F-16 or the MiG-29 or something more modern, where pilots and crews are around who know how to use it and have talked about it and can share knowledge about, hey, you know, if you're dive bombing in the F-16, you do this, or hey, if you're dropping munitions in the MiG-29, you do that. Like, that level of institutional knowledge is not really around for the F-100. There's still a few sage old-timers that are kicking around and talking about this plane. Bruce Gordon actually has a YouTube channel that mentions some Cold War Century Series airplanes and some of the antics they got up to, but there's not a lot of people of his caliber and experience around who can talk to the F-100 when it was still in service. So that's why I'm sharing what I know as much as I can, because I've done a lot of reading on this jet. I happen to like it a lot, clearly, and I think if you have that background of how to employ it, you can be just as deadly with this airplane as you can with something modern. And the cool thing is, it's all you. You know, when you do something good in this jet, it's not the computer, it's not the fly-by-wire, it's not the flight dynamics, it's not the aerodynamics, it's not the all-knowing situational awareness tools, it's not the software, or you have a new version of the radar that got you to kill. It's not any of those things. This is the ultimate all-pilot, all-plane, no technology piece of kit. So when you do something in this jet, like shoot someone down or strike some AAA sites, or even just take off and land in the dang thing, you can turn this thing off, turn your switches off, and pat yourself on the back inside, or if you want to, pat yourself in the back the old-fashioned way. I'm not going to stop you, but either way, you can step away with the knowledge that you did the work, not a piece of, you know, soldered microchips. You know, there's a certain satisfaction in that you're just not going to get with something that has more technology behind it. And hopefully I'm not the only one that feels that way about it. I know, looking at the stats, the F-100 can seem a bit like just weird. Like, why would you spend money on something that doesn't have a radar, it doesn't have like you know, fly-by-wire and like 9G sustained turn and all that stuff? And really the magic of this module goes beyond the stat card. It's really about, you know, it's about appreciating the old way of doing things and flying it to the best that you can, so that you can accomplish the mission and step off the jet confident that you're the reason that you were able to make a difference, and not some outside technology or thing that takes the credit for the work. Hopefully that makes sense to those of you watching this, and if it doesn't, tell me in the comments, so that way next video I won't talk as much. there we have it. Thanks for tuning in. If you like my content, consider subscribing. That way you'll be notified when I publish my next video. Thanks again, everyone. See you in the next one.